The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome into Bell to Bell. I'm David Sears. My apologies for my absence. As you know, it gets a little busy around here, so I apologize for that. But we have a lot of wrestling news to get up with. I'm going to skip the past weeks of television and just start with this past Saturday's Collision. But first, the wrestling world lost a legend with the passing of the Iron Sheik. Iron Sheik, of course, famously dropped the belt to Hulk Hogan, which led to a huge rivalry between the two in the early 80s. He also teamed with a wrestler named Nikolai Volkov, who was Russian, and the Iron Sheik, of course, was Iranian, playing up hostility between there. He was hilarious on Twitter, one of the absolute best follows on Twitter. Unfortunately, we'll not be able to get the Iron Sheik's wisdom and comments on stuff the way we used to. The Iron Sheik wrestled into the early 2000s, including winning the Battle Royale at the Gimmick Battle Royale at WrestleMania X7. Some consider the best WrestleMania of all time. So he was a figure that was larger than life. If you have not watched the documentary about his life that his nephews made, you need to go see it. It is on Amazon. I believe it's $3.99 to rent. It's totally worth it. He is 100% amazing when you find out that he had to flee Iran for his life due to the Ayatollah taking over and his working with the Shah of Iran as a bodyguard. Also, he was an amateur wrestler who was very, very talented, competed for a spot in the Olympics, won an amateur athletic union Greco-Roman wrestling championship and gold medal in 1971. So, I mean, he was not only a legitimate wrestler, but he was a sports entertainer as well. He was a great fan favorite. A lot of people loved him. He was very nice at conventions, very sweet. It stinks that he passed away, but he lived a good life. He was 81. He passed peacefully at his home in Fayetteville, Georgia. So our condolences out to the Iron Sheik. And a man who used the phrase jabroni frequently, which was originated by the Iron Sheik, The Rock, has had a rough go so far. Late 2022 saw the Black Adam box office bomb there, as well as new news that the Young Rock show on NBC has been canceled. They cited low ratings, but I say that's one of the dumbest things because you moved it head-to-head with SmackDown on Friday nights. You should have kept it on Thursday nights. I don't understand why NBC would try to split the audience that way. It makes no sense to me. I think that show is really fun, really entertaining. The premise is The Rock is running for president, and he's telling his life story to a news interview to get everything out there. It's a really good show. Great quality entertainment. A lot of fun. I don't understand why NBC decided to sabotage it by moving to Friday nights. However, some other bad news for The Rock. In its first year under his ownership, the XFL has lost $60 million. That is an estimate from Forbes magazine. The Rock is championing the long game, saying that he will be in this for the long haul. He knows he's going to lose money at first, but eventually he wants to get this going. There have been some talks about the USFL and the XFL merging. We'll see if that does happen. I could see that benefiting both sides, but I think The Rock is determined to make this work for the XFL. Also, The Rock has some good news as he's returning to the Fast and Furious franchise. If you saw Fast X, there's a mid-credit scene where he and Gal Gadot are returning for Fast 11. So good news, he'll have that going for him. Plus, we've got the live-action Moana, so we'll be able to get our Rock fill that way. And again, his great workout gear line, the Project Rock Under Armour stuff. I love working out in it. I think if you're a big fan of The Rock, it's great stuff. He actually tests every item of clothing that he sells for men, and he has women test it like Lindsey Vonn for women. So it's a great thing. I don't think he's going to be hurting financially. It's just a setback for The Rock temporarily. The man is resilient. If you know the history behind why it's called $7 Productions, which was due to the fact that after he was cut from the CFL, he only had $7 to his name before he started getting into professional wrestling. So The Rock is a resilient individual. You know he'll come back. He's a great dude. Loves the fans, loves the people. 100% behind this guy. He was never really my favorite wrestler, but I've grown to love him as an actor and really liked what he's done since stepping away from the ring and the few matches he's had coming back. Because who doesn't love seeing John Cena lose to The Rock? But some tough goings for The Rock right now. But as I said, he's a resilient man, and he will definitely bounce back. It's getting closer to my favorite time of year, and that is the G1 Climax in New Japan. We have 32 contestants this year, and we have 4 blocks like we did last year. Block A consists of Sonata, Chase Owens, Hikuleo, Ren Narita, Shota Umino, Yota Tsuji, Gabe Kidd, and Kaito Kiyomiya. Then we have Block B with Kazuchika Okada, Yoshihashi, Taichi, Kenta, The Great Okan, Will Ospreay, Tongaloa, and El Phantasmo. Block C has David Finlay, Tomohiro Ishii, Evil, Tama Tonga, Shingo Takagi, Aaron Hinare, Eddie Kingston from AEW, and Mikey Nichols. And Block D is Hiroshi Tanahashi, Tetsuya Naito, Hiroki Goto, Zack Sabre Jr., Toru Yano, Jeff Cobb, Shane Haste, and Alex Coughlin. This year's G1 Climax will kick off on July 15th with the block matches concluding on August 9th. From there, on August 10th, we'll see the block winners and second placers face off with the semifinals happening on August 12th and the final on August 13th. As per tradition, the winner of the G1 Climax will earn themselves a shot at the IWGP Heavyweight Championship at Wrestle Kingdom next January 4th. Now let's take a look at some of the rumors currently going around in professional wrestling. Right now, Tony and Shad Khan are looking to buy MMA powerhouse Bellator, according to multiple sources. That would unite the two to have Bellator and AEW under the same wing, the way the UFC and WWE are currently under the same company. That would be an interesting move, especially with the focus on entertainment now. So I think they could pull in some Bellator talent into AEW, but I don't know how committed the real fighters would be going against professional wrestlers. Also, some other rumors from Boozer Wrestling, a fun Twitter follow if you can. Roman Reigns will be going back just to the new undisputed WWE Universal title. He will quit carrying around 2 belts soon. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer seemed to speculate that Top Dollar has formed some enemies on the creative team based on how Hit Row was booked at SmackDown. He also says that he's not very popular with some people in the company. According to Professional Wrestling Insider, the reaction among those backstage in AEW was really positive when it came to the debut of Collision. Everyone felt they did a good job of making the show look and feel different than Dynamite. Also, per Dave Meltzer, Saraya is away from the AEW right now, but it's not clear exactly why. Rush's current contract is believed to be a 1-year deal and could be up soon, says the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Also, Dax Harwood has been involved in creative pitches to Tony Khan, also according to Wrestling Insider. This past Monday had some changes to Raw's script again, at least according to Fightful Select. Nothing was cut, but some of Vince's changes were described as drastic. The opening segment, which we'll get into momentarily, specifically mentioned as being changed by McMahon. Boozer Wrestling also tweeted about how Raw was a long day with plans changed a lot, as they claimed the changes came from Triple H. Now, CM Punk's Collision promo last Saturday was 100% off the cuff, according to Pro Wrestling Insider Elite. Punk had a few lines in mind ahead of time, but his material was pre-written and approved. And then, according to Fightful Select, AEW thought that some of what Punk said was hypocritical to call anyone else soft, but overall, everyone felt Punk just got out what he needed to. The Young Bucks in particular were said to take the jabs at them in a lighthearted manner and assured people everything was fine. Fightful has also learned that the Elite will be pre-taping material for this week's Dynamite and Rampage, so there's a good chance they won't be in the arena. This would mean CM Punk could appear at the live show in Chicago's Wintrust Arena. The belief among PW Insiders, AEW sources in Chicago last weekend was that the Kenny Omega vs. Will Ospreay match will main event Forbidden Door on Sunday. Also, Amanda Huber, the wife of the late Brody Lee, is working in AEW production per PW Insider. The former WWE production executive Michael Mansouri, who was brought in by Tony Khan last year, is said to have recruited her from the community outreach team. Boozer Wrestling hints that there may be a big return happening at Money in the Bank, which occurs next Saturday. Fightful Select says they were told by WWE sources that the company is being strategic about its premium live event announcements and doing so in such a way that each one gets its own moment. Pat McAfee recently announced that Fastlane is going to happen in Indianapolis. This is an example of what their new marketing strategy is. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer said that it's still expected that Tommaso Ciampa will join up with Johnny Gargano in the way, which, come on, DIY is a great tag team. There are rumors they're going to take on Kevin and Sammy at SummerSlam, which would be a tremendous match because they all are great workers, put on amazing matches, tell great stories. They're a group of four that could work well together. Again, you have the underdogs of DIY versus the established badasses of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. LA Knight and Io Sky are still the odds-on favorites to win the Money in the Bank ladder matches, according to Bet Online. Their Boozer Wrestling said that Logan Paul was added to the match just to help add intrigue and counter expectations for Knight's win. Also, the Wrestling Observer says Kenny Omega isn't going to appear on Live, Dynamite, or Collision this week, but he could appear via pre-tape. That goes back to, again, the Elite not being in the same arena as Punk, as many people have speculated they're going to keep them separated for the time being. Good news for AEW Collision, as it had a strong debut this past Saturday. This past Saturday, the show did a .33 rating, which was good enough for cable third place. It brought in 816,000 viewers on Saturday night. The .33 was in the 18 to 49-year-old demographic. It was third between the ESPN coverage of UFC Fight Night and the College World Series. Now that leads us to AEW Collision's debut episode this past Saturday night. The show started with a CM Punk promo. The crowd was chanting, "Fuck the Elite." I mean, it was intense heat towards the Elite. Chicago is not a fan of the Bucks, Kenny, and the Hangman, so that was there. Punk cut a very solid promo talking about how if he's lying, call him out on it, but he's not. I think it was classic Punk. It was great TV. It moved the needle. It got the crowd psyched and into it. It led to a great first match, which was a TNT title match of Luchasaurus versus Wardlow. Christian Cage gets the assist there by using a camera to smash Wardlow in the face twice, allowing Luchasaurus to get the win. After the match, Christian Cage took the title and rode around on Luchasaurus' shoulders for a little bit, but Luchasaurus is your new TNT champion. Also, QT Marshall cut a promo backstage with Powerhouse Hobbs and saying that he will win the Owen Hart tournament. Next up was probably the best match of the night. I'm going to say it. Andrade El Idolo and Buddy Matthews was the best match of the night. Andrade gets the victory, and after the match, by the way, Andrade used the figure 4 and then bridged into the figure 8, a nod to his wife, Charlotte. I thought that was really cool. My wife and I were freaking out about that. Like, holy crap, he's doing his wife's finisher. I thought that was very sweet. Then after the match, he tried to shake the hand of Buddy Matthews. The lights went out, and the House of Black showed up, and they all whooped up on Andrade El Idolo. After that, we had Tony Nese in the ring with Mark Sterling, saying that everyone in Chicago was out of shape and needed to exercise, so they started to stretch, and then Miro's music hit. Miro beats the hell out of Tony Nese. It was a great match, great return for Miro. Glad to see him back on TV. Next up was a tag team match for the women. Ruby Soho and Toni Storm versus Willow Nightingale and Sky Blue. Sky Blue, of course, from Chicago, wore some Chicago-themed gear, was really over with the crowd, ends up getting the pinfall after some help from Willow Nightingale. Code Blue hit Ruby Soho. So Sky Blue still getting her chance to wrestle in front of the crowd and get that shot at the AEW Women's World Title. Next up was a Ricky Starks promo saying he was going to win the Owen Hart tournament. Then Jeff Jarrett said he was ready to hurt Mark Briscoe in a concession stand brawl that is going to occur on this Wednesday night's AEW Dynamite. The Acclaimed came out, cut a really good promo, and Daddy Ass was chanted forward. There was a four-way scissor. Acclaimed they are done. Pursue title on that. The main event is CM Punk for Samoa Joe and Bullet Club Gold, which was Jay White and Juice Robinson. Again, you have probably the best tag team in AFTR going against two. It was a main event. It was the fan when Punk hits the go to sleep on Juice and gets the pinfall 1, 2, 3. Big win for CM Punk as he returns, and we head towards AEW Dynamite and Collision next Saturday, and of course Forbidden Door. Now let's transition to the WWE. This past Monday Night Raw opened with Seth Rollins getting ready for his Open Challenge title match, but Finn Balor jumped him and beat him down pretty severely, focusing on the ribs and back. He was restrained by referees, but that didn't matter. He kept fighting his way through it, and he managed 3 coup de grace off the steps to crush Rollins. Then we go to break, and then as we head back from the commercial break, Rollins gets jumped again by Finn Balor, and he gets held back again and broken up. So then we go to the ring where The Miz says he's mad about not getting to accept Rollins' Open Challenge and said he's issuing his own Open Challenge. And it's answered by Tommaso Ciampa. The Blackheart is back. He defeats The Miz with a fairy tale ending and a quick match. It's good to see him back on here. Then after that, we have a segment with the Judgment Day where Finn says Seth Rollins. Then we have a segment with the Judgment Day where Finn Balor says Seth Rollins' Open Challenge is canceled because of him. And then Rhea says that Judgment Day will dominate Money in the Bank with Damian beating Cody Rhodes, Damian Priest winning the Money in the Bank title, and Finn defeating Seth Rollins. Dominic got booed when he tried to talk, which was really funny, and he did eventually get to talk and issued a 6-man challenge to Cody and anyone that wants to join him. We got a recap of Roman and the Bloodline, where Jay and Jimmy have left the Bloodline, and it's now Solo and Roman versus Jimmy and Jay at Money in the Bank. We had a funny bit in the back where Owens bet Sami Zayn that he could go the rest of the night without snapping. And if he did, Zayn would have to leave him alone about his anger issues. If Owens blows it up, he has to admit he has a problem. So that was the deal. Then we had a tag team match with Caden Carter and Katana Chance versus Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. Good match by the team of Carter and Chance. They get the victory. And a quick match. It was only about 2 minutes long. Cody came out, said he accepted Dominic's challenge. Then we had Indashir versus Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. They actually got to start this time with Cedric and Shelton getting some shots in, but eventually it didn't matter. Shelton Benjamin gets caught with the side slam, middle rope, elbow combination for the pin. Another quick match. Then we get another bit where Kevin Owens accidentally gets some water spilled on him, but he was able to keep himself calm. He says he has an idiot problem and not an anger problem. And then they run into Matt Riddle, and Owens bites through his hand because he knows he's in trouble. And Riddle asks if he has seen Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which Owens gets really upset and says, you know what? Good luck. And he left. Logan Paul came out, cut a promo saying that he was now in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Ricochet interrupted, then Shinsuke interrupted, then LA Knight interrupted, the Santos Escobar interrupted. Then we had a big brawl, and Butch comes down and just beats everybody up, and then Logan Paul gets the victory by beating everybody out. And then he climbs the ladder, as is custom. Matt Riddle defeats Ludwig Kaiser. Basically, Riddle's going through the lackeys of Gunther before he can get there. It'd be really cool to see him take the title off Gunther at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, but I really doubt that's going to happen. Especially with Gunther and Kaiser taking out Riddle's knee and leaving him just laying in the back. Imperium then interrupts Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens and says they have got a message and they have to leave. Alpha Academy took on the Viking Raiders. We get a distraction victory by Eric on Gable for the victory after Maxine Dupree hits a suplex on Valhalla. So we continue that feud. Damien and Finn say they're cool with each other, and Rhea has to go deal with Natalya. And it was a quick match where Natalya is beaten up pretty quickly, and then once they get in the ring, she hits Riptide, gets the victory. Raquel Rodriguez is in the back to get into Money in the Bank and runs into Rhea. A lot of charity. That's going to be an epic match when Raquel takes on Rhea. Rodriguez says Ripley isn't ready for her, so hope that she doesn't win. And then we get some more stuff as we go to the back where Akira Tozawa offers to be in Cody Rhodes' partner. Then Cody runs into Kevin and Sammy, so they're in. We get Kevin, Sammy, and Cody versus Damian, Dominic, and Finn. Then we get the Money in the Bank qualifying match with Raquel Rodriguez versus Trish Stratus. Zoe Stark is on the outside with Trish. Zoe interferes with the match a little bit, and her interference allows Rodriguez to get distracted, and then Becky Lynch runs down, starts beating up Zoe Stark, and then she's getting pumped, and she sees Trish and starts beating up Trish, and Trish gets thrown into the barricade by Becky, causing the DQ and victory for Trish Stratus. So Trish gets the final spot in the women's ladder match. They continued fighting. Braun Breaker cut a promo about facing Seth Rollins on NXT for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. He said maybe the doctors can prescribe him some courage because Breaker was going to be ready to go no matter what. Then we get Becky Lynch cutting a promo talking about how she thinks that having a match with Trish involving ladders could be lots of fun because she's either winning or going down in a blaze of glory and bringing Zoe Stark and Stratus with her. Then we get Shinsuke versus Bronson Reed. Shinsuke loses to Bronson Reed due to some interference from Ricochet. So there continues that feud between those two as we head towards Money in the Bank. Then the main event is Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens versus Judgment Day. Of course, the faces get the victory. It's a great show. The Cody Cutter gets a 2 on Priest, and then a haluva kick and a stunner to Dominic. Crossroads finishes Priest at 13:33. So it was a relatively short main event, but again, these matches weren't exactly really fast. I made sense for Priest to take the fall because he's in the Money in the Bank. You don't want Dominic to lose to Cody early, especially with their match at Money in the Bank, and you don't want Finn, who is the number one contender right now, to take on Seth Rollins to get the pin. So that will be interesting. We will see what happens with that as we get ready to head towards the Go Home show next Monday on Raw. Next up, we have NXT Gold Rush Week 1. Now, it's going to be a 2-week thing focusing on all of the titles of NXT, plus some bonus titles. The opening match was Wes Lee versus Tyler Bate with special guest referee Mustafa Ali. It was a very solid match. We ended up with with Lee getting punched out to the floor and Tyler Bate lying down in the ring. And then Ali starts to do the count. He gets to 6, runs down to the 4, and smacks Wes Lee to get him up, get him psyched up to get in the ring. Then he runs up into the ring and gets Tyler Bate up, but the distraction let Wes Lee hit the cardiac kick to retain. It was a really good starting match for the show. I really enjoyed it, and now we've got some tension between Wes Lee and Mustafa Ali and Tyler Bate. Wes Lee continues his longest reign as North American title, and I think it's going to be a big deal when he finally does lose it. I don't know if it's going to be to Bate. I don't know if it's going to be to Mustafa Ali, but I think he's going to lose it within the next 2 months. Next up, we had Gigi Dolan doing a promo talking about her life and how she's been betrayed by a bunch of people, and Art lets her do what she wants. Kiana James is in the back, and she says she doesn't care what happens with Dolan because James has ambition. Next up was the Pep Rally with Duke Hudson and Chase U's star talent, Thea Hale. It's a pretty good thing, and they get it going, and they're interrupted by Tiffany Stratton, who says next week that she will beat Thea, and we are going to have Stratton gets in the ring with Hale, and Hale puts on a Kimura lock on Tiffany, and she taps. Then we get a promo in the back where Joe Gacy thinks he might be the problem with Schism, and Ava says that there's still one tree with 4 roots. Diamond Mine doesn't like Schism, is ready to get rid of him. They cut a promo. Lyra Valkyrie comes up to JC Jane and asks what the problem is. Jane says last week was just locker room chatter, but Valkyria doesn't buy it. When Valkyria gone, Jane thinks she should have just kicked her in the face. Then we get a triple threat tag team match with the winner earning a shot next week against Gallus. Josh Briggs and Brooke Jensen versus Hank Walker and Tank Ledger versus Edris Enofe and Malik Blade. The winner was shockingly Enofe and Blade. I didn't expect him to win that. I thought it was really good. These guys will have a good shot against Gallus. I don't think they beat Gallus, but we'll see what happens with that. Gallus looking really dominant. They're in the back, and they are interrupted by Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza, and they actually came off as a little bit of a threat, so good news for making the Los Lotharios get away from that stupid gimmick. Next up, we get Damon Kemp picking a stipulation against Eddie Thorpe next week, a Raw Underground match, which, if you don't remember, was basically no ring ropes, no pinfalls. It's either knockout, submission, or TKO. Then Roxanne Perez jumps Blair Davenport, who enjoys the competition. Then Nathan Frazier, who talks to his mentor Seth Rollins, congratulating him on the win. Rollins tells him to have fun with that thing, and Frazier leaves when Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams come in, and they look like they're going to fight, and then they act like they're all cool, so that's good to know. Cora Jade beats Dana Brooke, and it was ref stoppage. Dana Brooke injured her knee. She was getting wheeled out on a gurney, and then she decided to start fighting back on Cora Jade after Cora Jade antagonized her, and the ref put her in Cora Jade put Brooke in a single leg Boston Crab on the bad knee. She won't tap, and the ref is just taps for her. So Dana Brooke never gave up. She kept fighting, so that's a good story there. If she's going to be in NXT for a while, let her feud with Cora Jade. Cora Jade's getting ready to go up there. We then get Von Wagner and Mr. Stone in an empty arena talking, and Wagner says this is where it all started. And Wagner shows him a picture of Stone, his picture of himself as a baby, and about how his skull was being born locked into place, and he had to have surgery when he was 15 months old. They pulled his face down and fixed his skull and gave him a life. The scarring on his head was bad, and the kids used to call him a monster, but all he could do was take it. That's enough for today, and Wagner thanks Stone for what he did. So that was pretty cool. And let's build some sympathy for Von Wagner. He has potential to be a good monster. I don't think he'll be a true babyface because he's just so big. It'd kind of be like Braun Strowman just beating the hell out of everybody. Then we get Eddie Thorpe looking into Raw Underground, and Gable Steveson shows up, says he'll help train Thorpe, and that will be in 2 weeks. So Gable says he knows Damon Kemp better than anyone because Damon Kemp is his brother in real life. Then we get Carmelo Hayes and Baron Corbin going face-to-face for a debate, and Corbin talks about how he has a $1.8 million house, how he's got all this cash, and he accomplished more at 27, which is the same age that Corbin was cut from the NFL. And it's going to be a good match between those two. Obviously, Corbin's not going to beat Carmelo. They're not going to end his reign right now, but it should be a good match. Nathan Frazier and Dragon Lee wish Elisa Leon and Valentina Feroz luck in their tag team match. Then Frazier tells Lee that he's trying to thank people who helped him get there so Lee can have the first shot at the Heritage Cup. Lee says, bring it on. Then Stax jumps Joe Coffey in the parking lot, kidnaps him in the trunk of his car. Then Elisa Leon, Valentina Feroz versus Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend. And with some help from the distraction of Oro Mensah, Legend gets the kick on Leon in the face for the pin, a short match. Then we get the main event, Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker, and it was great. Braun is going to be a star when he gets to the main roster. He showed he can hang with Seth. Again, it's hard to have a bad match with Seth, but they just went back and forth. Braun targeted the back and ribs of Seth, and Seth got him down for a pedigree for 2, and then Breaker just about broke Seth Rollins in half with the spear to the ribs. Got another 2 count. Rollins then was managed to do a super kick into a stomp, then hits another stomp to retain the title. After the match, Rollins is posing with the title, but Finn Balor runs in and jumps him from behind, starts beating him up, takes a chair to his ribs a couple of times, and then Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams run in for the save. So maybe we'll see some Finn versus Carmelo Hayes down the line. Who knows? We've got a lot to go right there. That was a very fun moment, a very, very good way to end that show as we head into Gold Rush Week 2. And finally, let's finish up with Dynamite. Dynamite opened up right away with action with the Hardys versus the Guns. The Hardys were about to get the win when Jay White and Juice Robinson distracted the ref, allowing the Guns to hit the 310 to Yuma on Jeff Hardy and gets the victory for the Guns. After the match, Juice Robinson and Jay White are not done. They attack Matt, then clock Jeff across the jaw with a roll of quarters. The Guns lift up Matt, and Juice has another roll, and Ricky Starks runs down the ramp. He tries to help, but the numbers are too much. Then comes FTR. It's 4-on-3 with Dax and Cash getting held back until CM Punk returns to Dynamite. He runs down the ramp, and the heels leave the ring pissed. Juice goes, Punk! In anger. And then Punk challenges him to a 4-on-4 match on Saturday. Then we get the concession stand brawl between Mark Briscoe and Jeff Jarrett. All of Jarrett's stables get involved. Karen Jarrett, Sanjay Dutt, Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh. But luckily, the Christopher Daniels and the Best Friends, along with the Lucha Brothers, all come down to help even the odds, getting the victory for the one and only Mark Briscoe. Then the Blackpool Combat Club challenges the Elite to a tag team match, 5-on-5. It will be Claudio Castagnoli, Yuta Wheeler, and John Moxley with Kensuke Takeshita and Shota Umino. Bryan Danielson said that he would also call out Okada because if he doesn't show up, he's a coward. Next up, we have the Suzuki Gods, Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and Minoru Suzuki versus Action Andretti, AR Fox, and Darius Martin. A very solid match, makes the babyfaces look good. However, the Suzuki Gods are way too much and get the victory. Then Jericho is interviewed by Renee Paquette, and he grabs the mic, says Sting and Jericho in the ring was monumental, but he doesn't want to do that match. So then Sting comes in with Darby Allin, and he challenges the Suzuki Gods to a match at Forbidden Door. Jericho does not know who the third partner is because they say they got a guy for Sunday, but Jericho has no idea. Then the Elite respond to the challenge from the Blackpool Combat Club, and they found Eddie Kingston to join them, and then Eddie will get to choose the next person to be in there with them. Adam Cole comes out, cuts a promo about how he should have won. MJF comes out, responds, and they start going at it. We find out that they're going to be tag team partners in the Eliminator Tag Team Championship. We also found out that Adam Cole is able to talk MJF into accepting the match with Hiroshi Tanahashi. So we will get Hiroshi Tanahashi versus MJF for the AEW title. Then Orange Cassidy and Katsuyori Shibata versus Daniel Garcia and Zack Sabre Jr. All four of those men will be participating in a match for the International Championship come Sunday. However, the Orange Punch from Orange Cassidy goes wide and hits Shibata, allowing Daniel Garcia to get the pinfall. After the match, the four of them tug on the title, and they all look at each other and say, we want the title. Will Ospreay is interviewed backstage, and he runs down Canada. Don Callis says he'll provide him with military-grade private security because all he wants from Ospreay is a fair fight. Tony Storm cuts a promo about Willow Nightingale. Then we also get the TBS Championship match of Chris Statlander versus Tyra Valkyrie. Solid match. These two women really held their own. It was a great back-and-forth match with Chris Statlander getting the victory, and now she is able to move on to the next challenger. Eddie Kingston comes out to the ring, and he says that he will choose their next partner, but he still loves John Moxley. He has no issue with him, but he can't stand Claudio at all. He doesn't care if he and John are tight about that, but Moxley comes out. They start yelling at each other. Eddie Kingston then says that Tomohiro Ishii will be his partner. The Blackpool Combat Club comes out and jumps Eddie Kingston with Claudio Castagnoli focusing most of his rage on Eddie. Bryan grabs a mic and says he's going to stomp in Ishii's face if the Rainmaker doesn't come out. Out comes Okada, and he's able to hold his own with Bryan for a little bit, but Wheeler Yuta does a sneak attack. Eventually, Bryan was about to do a running knee to Okada, but Okada moves and Yuta gets hit in the face with the knee. He tries for the Rainmaker on Bryan Danielson, but Danielson slips out. However, Yuta, not so lucky, gets the Rainmaker hit on him. So that was the end of that show. Also during the show, we had the brackets revealed for the Owen Hart Cup tournament. The men's tournament will feature CM Punk versus Satoshi Kojima, Roderick Strong versus Samoa Joe, Dustin Rhodes versus Powerhouse Hobbs, and Juice Robinson versus Ricky Starks. The women's tournament will be Britt Baker versus Ruby Soho, Anna J.A.S. versus Sky Blue, Nyla Rose versus Willow Nightingale, and Athena versus Billy Starks. Now, it is important to note that only the returning women's champion is going to be in the Owen Hart tournament. Britt Baker won it last year. Adam Cole won the men's. Adam Cole is not a part of it. Also, no Canadians are involved with this tournament. This tournament will primarily be held in Canada, a few matches in Chicago, but no Canadians involved, which is a really odd choice by the bookers at AEW. And finally, we have a final card for Forbidden Door. Athena will take on Billy Starks in an Owen Hart Cup tournament first round match. Kenny Omega will take on Will Ospreay for the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship. Bryan Danielson versus Kazuchika Okada. The IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Sonata will take on Jungle Boy Jack Perry with Hook. MJF will take on Hiroshi Tanahashi for the AEW World Championship. The Suzuki Gods, Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and Minoru Suzuki versus Sting, Darby Allin, and an opponent to be named. The Blackpool Combat Club of Jon Moxley, Wheeler Yuta, and Claudio Castagnoli will be with Konosuke Takeshita and Shota Umino versus Hangman Adam Page, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, Eddie Kingston, and Tomohiro Ishii. CM Punk will take on Satoshi Kojima in the men's Owen Hart Cup tournament first round match. Orange Cassidy will take on Zack Sabre Jr., Katsuyori Shibata, and Daniel Garcia in a four-way match for the AEW International Championship. And Toni Storm will take on Willow Nightingale for the AEW Women's World Championship. So right now, 10 matches on the card for Forbidden Door on Sunday. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at DavidSears75. You can follow Tony Curry Radio on Twitter at Tony Curry Radio. Also, make sure you download the app of Tony Curry Radio. You can get that real easily in the Apple Store. Search for the TKR app. In the Android Store, search for Tony Curry Radio. Now, I will be back on Monday with a brand new show recapping SmackDown, Collision, and Forbidden Door. But until that time, I bid you adieu and wish you to have a nice day.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.